Sadly, it is no surprise that we see yet another instance of mismanagement and waste from this Liberal government. The Auditor General's report released earlier this week is truly shocking.
We've got yet another story of government waste, mismanagement, and utter incompetence. And of course, this time it's coming from the desk of Environment Minister Stephen Guilbeault.
Mr. Speaker, so I was sitting. I'm a Liberal and a proud socialist, Mr. Speaker.
That probably doesn't surprise you, but you did hear that right. The guy who's lecturing us on how to save the planet can't even manage his own portfolio in the millions of dollars he's been doling out in quote-unquote green subsidies. According to the scathing audit in a story first broken by Blacklock's on Monday, Guilbeault's department has been playing fast and loose with taxpayers' money, and I mean millions upon millions of your hard-earned dollars. The auditors were very clear in their report. This mismanagement represents potential legal and reputational damage. In other words, it's a complete mess, and there might even be fraud going on. We've observed significant issues. The audit of the administration of grants and contributions said, no kidding, since 2016, spending on these so-called green subsidies has jumped by $625 million. But here's the problem. There's been little to no oversight on where that money's going or what it's even for. Think about that for a second. That's $625 million, over $500 million, with no questions asked, no checks or balances. Where is it going? Who's getting it? No one seems to know. And people seem to care even less. The paperwork, according to the audit, was full of errors, incorrect terms, and in some cases, entire project files were just missing. It gets worse. Management was described as uncoordinated and inefficient. A 2019 Treasury Board memo, Horizontal Review of Business Innovation and Clean Technology Program that Blacklock's obtained through access to information, that environmental subsidies are scattered across 45 different programs managed by 11 different departments. Yes, you heard that right. 45 programs, 11 different departments. The memo bluntly stated that federal programs were so disorganized that taxpayers had no clue if they were even getting what they paid for. Imagine that. You're forking over your hard-earned cash, and there's little to no evidence it's going toward anything meaningful. And why? Well, it's because these programs lack a clear strategy. They don't set proper targets, and surprise, surprise, they don't even bother measuring to see if these subsidies are having any real environmental impact. Because I think everybody's pretty sure they don't. Oh, and let's be sure to diffuse the funding through the hands of dozens of programs so that it's purposefully difficult to trace.
Lawrence was told that by the powers that be that informed her that they were choosing Ms. Vacherian after she objected to her conflict of interest and put that through the system through ADM Noseworthy, that they would manage conflicts. Ms. Vacherian had companies that she had a conflict with had already received about $12 million from the Green Slush Fund before she was appointed. And then while on the board, her stated conflict of interest companies received almost $36 million while chair of the board. So I'm curious who in PCO or PMO told ADM Noseworthy or the Deputy Minister of the Day or Minister Baines that it was okay to have the first chair in the history of SDTC appointed with conflicts. No other chair had had conflicts.
Mr. Chair, to respond to the honourable member's question, I would say, as the Ethics Commissioner noted in his report, that at the time of her application, Ms. Vacherian was advised by the Privy Council Office, given the nature of the conflicts, to speak directly with the Commissioner, and that's very clearly laid out in the Commissioner's report. And it was the Commissioner who felt that there were ways to mitigate the conflicts that she had, and it was on that basis that advice would have been provided at the time, that she would have been in good standing from a legislative perspective to hold the role.
These programs range from low-interest loans for electric car charging stations to grants for food processors under the Department of Agriculture. But what's missing here in all of this is just basic accountability. Like they say, what gets measured gets done. And right now, nothing's being measured, and who knows what's being done with any of that money. This is all just another example of how this federal government is completely out of touch. They keep pushing their impossible green agenda, while average Canadians like you and me are left wondering where all this money is actually going. But hey, they'll pat themselves on the back for saving the planet while you foot the bill for their incompetence. For Rebel News, I'm Sheila Gunn-Reid.
So it is the policy then of this Prime Minister's office that appointing people with known conflict of interest, whose companies have an interest, financial interest in the company that they're being appointed to, the Crown agency with taxpayers' money, that conflict is okay by this Prime Minister's office to be basically breaking what appears to be not only the word and intent of the Conflict of Interest Act and the SDTC Act, which say that not only the real conflict, but the appearance of conflict cannot happen, that you cannot personally benefit from being on these boards.
These green subsidies with zero accountability are all part of the federal government's Great Green Reset, where they use green policies to control your life. To fight back, go to nogreenreset.com.